Welcome, AfterBuzzers. You're watching the AfterShow for Altered Carbon, where tonight we talk about the Bancroft murder mystery, Takeshi's long nap, and people swapping bodies. Stay tuned for more.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome, Altered Carbon fans. We are here for the first time. Let's say we're back, but we're here for the first time. A panel of 4 hosts. Well, I'm giving you a great after show for Altered Carbon. Give us that plug. We will be covering 2 episodes with each show. We'll be here every Monday night, 10 o'clock live. Again, my name is Shaka Smith, and I'm joined by 3 lovely co-hosts.
What's going on, guys? My name is Nate Miller.
Evan Mack.
And I'm Krista, Flentje.
Well, what a heck of a series. I'm just engrossed already. What are your overall thoughts so far on these 2 episodes?
Oh, listen. Well then, I love it. It was different. It was fresh. You know a show's lit when you can go wake up Japanese, go to sleep, wake up white. That's how you know the show's lit, when you can change races and it be lit on fire.
That's true.
Damn, that show's good.
Yeah, the whole disposability of the human body and like the concept of it is really intriguing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch more and see where that goes.
I definitely went into it expecting a Blade Runner ripoff.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think in tone, it takes a lot from Blade Runner, which I really like a lot.
Yeah.
But the sci-fi, the science behind it, I really like the idea of the stacks.
Stands on its
Yeah.
own.
And,
So
yeah,
different.
it's
Yeah.
very interesting, and I like the story implications of it. So I'm really excited for it.
Like different take on like immortality and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
how did people come up with that? It's
Yeah.
And I had to watch the
insane
first
concept.
episode like twice. I was
Yeah.
just like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
what's
I
going
know, I
on?
had
There's a lot.
Yeah.
I'd be
There's a lot of,
rewinding and I'm like, so there's a chip or a stack and then they
Man.
spin up.
And I'm like, is that the same guy?
I'm so glad I ain't the only one that felt like a jackass when I was
No.
rewinding. I was like, and we'll
Like
watch this
reading
again.
articles.
Yeah, there's a lot of exposition. They try to say it a couple times
Yeah.
to try and reinforce it.
What did you guys think about, I guess, Takeshi's journey? I guess I'm already sort of just impacted by knowing that, he died in this tragic way, and it's 250 years later, just to have all that ripped away from you and then be brought in this time. What did you guys kind of think about that emotional tack I thought that was there?
I mean, man's lived a life.
Yeah.
Like 250 years to be asleep, and then everything. How many do we know? We don't know yet how many sleeves he's been through. We've only seen the 3. His original, middle.
There is a scene where Ortega looks
with
him
the
up on the
pictures.
computer. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are
Those
all.
the
Yeah,
sleeves.
so
There was
even
a female one in there too.
Yep.
So
Cross sleeve
it was
happens.
Like 5.
Yeah, there was like 5 or 6, and again, also that's on record.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's really interesting about Kovacs is he was basically a Black Ops operative, and then defected, and joined the Envoys, and then when that all ended, however it ended, which we don't know yet, he spent time then as a mercenary, which is what we saw in that flashback of them just hunting
he's been
down.
everywhere.
Right.
He's
So
done
he's
it all.
really been around.
He has like that like the worst case of PTSD like ever though.
Yeah.
Like we're like centuries of PTSD in different forms and stuff like that. So they show like the night with the nightmares and the, like struggle he has on like the grips of reality and things like that. I think it's very interesting.
It's also terrifying imagining that kind of a prison where they just they lock your consciousness away forever, and you just kind of sit there
And it could
in
just
stasis.
possibly brought back up whenever.
Yeah, in
and
a new body.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, that was jarring, I guess, when the young girl is really this old woman. They really show you the consequences of living in this type of world.
Right.
Yeah, especially if you don't have like the money and the resources, like what you can be like stuck with. If you don't have the finances, you just get whatever sleep.
Yeah, what I thought that was interesting, even in this world, sort of like class plays a
huge
role.
Right.
The biggest role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Of course, it's definitely a big extension of, almost like a capitalist nightmare, where literally if you have enough money, you can be immortal, and some of these people are born and they lose their sleeves because of debt or whatever happens, and so at that point they're like, you're buying and selling people. I mean, not the consciousness, but it's kind of sickening.
And it seems like what I thought was interesting, they kind of glossed over. There was really no moral. Like, there's no moral debates here. I guess we see some people protesting and little things.
It's like underlying moral issues that need to be brought to the surface, but it's the concept of the whole show. It's
part of normal life. Like these
We'll
moral
also
issues
remember
people are
too,
just
like so when Kovacs, back 250 years ago, it was
fight,
kind of a newer thing then.
Yeah.
And so this is 250 years later. Whether you like it or not, it's just a thing now.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
So there's a lot of the people then are not thinking about it in that way, except for like the religious
Until
group that we
it's
saw
happened.
that was
Yeah.
like protesting.
It's just accepted.
That's just the way it is.
And I love the way they touched on that in the show. That you can tell like a new technology that's just becoming something, and then he wakes up and it's like it's like a cell phone.
Yeah.
Like this is what we do.
Well, the other really cool thing that they touch on is the needle casting.
Right.
And I think that's part of the reason why, regardless of how you feel about the immortal life thing and coming back at a new sleeve, being able to transport to another planet almost instantaneously is so
crazy.
Invaluable.
Yeah.
And he was able to do it just to close business deals, He was just like
Just heading over real quick.
Who needs a private jet?
Yeah. I think their lifestyle is very interesting, and I think we get a beautiful window into the opulence of the Bancrofts.
Right, the extravagance.
And like anyone else, we're always interested in celebrity news and the opulence of celebrities. So it's time for a little plug for Conversations with Maria Menounos. Want to have fun, learn, and grow in all areas of your life?
Of course.
I do.
Yes.
Always.
For those who do we have a podcast for you. Conversations with Maria Menounos. Podcast edition is hosted by our AfterBuzz TV founder, Maria Menounos, and drops every Friday on iTunes. Conversations with Maria Menounos features celebrity and influencer interviews along with secrets and tips on how to be better in all aspects of life, from health and wellness to career and relationships, finances, and more. Let our Maria be the big sister you never had.
Oh, that's nice.
Maybe she can teach us how to needle cast.
That was seamless the way you did it too. The way you brought when you snuck in there.
Oh, hey,
I was so nice.
Well, it's very relatable. Just go to iTunes and subscribe to Conversations with Maria Menounos for free. Be sure to rate and comment, and when you do, let Maria know it was us who got you there. Conversations with Maria Menounos, podcast edition. Check it out.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's really great. I love that she's able to bring in a lot of different people from different worlds and kind of get their take and their information, and we're able to, apply it to our lives.
Yeah, some of my best my favorite podcasts that I listen to are those kind of podcasts, just interviewing different peoples in different fields and learning about their process and what they do.
And for me, I found the bottom line is make a lot of money and then be able to afford the things that will make your life better.
Exactly.
A la the Bancrofts.
Right.
Because that was my one thing is like, well, I mean, once you get the wealth, then at least immortality is on the table.
Oh, yeah. And you can keep like your same form. You can like look like you too.
Yeah, you can age for a little bit and then decide back to the younger version of me.
Or if you're Bancroft's wife, you can enhance your body.
Yeah.
You can do that as well.
And speaking of the Bancrofts, what do we think about the central reason Takeshi is back is to solve this murder?
Yeah.
I love that he's got this mission, this drive. What do you guys think about the murder? Did it happen? Is it real?
I mean, I think the one thing I love is the fact that this old envoy the last living envoy gets brought back to help a meth, which is someone he was trying to stop from coming into power in the first place. So he's got this, when he has the flashback with Kelcrest, or his like conscience with her, and she's like, no, there's like a deeper meaning that you can be here and you can like solve this mystery because he's like one of the elite. I think that's so cool how that ties in, and he's the reason he's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that the most about it.
Awesome. Very good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like I was talking earlier about the Blade Runner feel of the like classic noir. It's like you couldn't ask for a better murder mystery setup than like guy who's technically immortal gets killed, but there's a 48-hour gap that he can't remember of what happened. Like it's so good to like dissect.
And they explained it at least scientifically pretty sound as to why he got the gap.
Yeah, with the backup and everything. Yeah, it's and that's one of the things that I'm gonna come clean. I've seen all of the show. I'm gonna refrain from any spoilers or predictions or anything of that nature. But I will say the details in this show are very thought out. Everything is connected, even to like if you look at episode 1, we talked earlier about the daughter who's returned in the older body. We see a lot of these characters return again and interact with Ortega and other characters. So keep an eye out for that. But it's very interesting to see the way they interact.
Yeah, and confession, I've watched maybe about 5 or 6 episodes as well.
Same.
Who could stop watching once
Yeah,
we start?
it's really good. But the Bancroft character also too, I think, is really interesting. Especially we spent so much time kind of on the bottom and like working our way up and seeing the different class, and then we finally get up to the meth, and he's just kind of this larger than life, extravagant character.
Absolutely.
Especially with his wife there too.
Yeah,
and seeing like where they live.
And we almost see a window into immortality and relationships. They seem to have an open relationship because who can be together for 100 years?
Yeah.
Did anyone find that fascinating, or they, would that all of a sudden change our monogamous sort of way of life?
Or you've just been together so long, you try it all. You're like, let's try it.
Yeah. Once you're immortal, does it change? Do the rules of marriage change? And it's very interesting how like the dynamic might change once you're together. You can be together forever.
Yeah, literal forever.
Do you get bored? That way is interesting.
I mean, they're almost gods because they're so rich. They can't die. They can go wherever they want. Like they have access to information.
They live in the
It's
sky.
gotta change the way you think about things. Especially, this is not like they've only been doing for a few years. Like hundreds of years they've been doing.
And
this,
something with monogamy almost requires a really valueship of the ownership of your body, whereas you don't maybe have that same value of the ownership of when there's
I think it's
1,000
also
bodies
too
in the freezer.
when you do your marriage vows, it's till death do us part.
Right.
So you do that, but then it's
Right.
like, well, we're not gonna die, unless something goes horribly wrong.
Like financially
Right. There's
or
no,
something
you
else.
don't have the secure, like when we get married, we know we're gonna die at some point.
Yeah.
And so that finality of life has to play into it in some regard. And so once you throw that out the window, it's a very interesting character study to see how they interact, especially with how they interact with other characters that they know are mortal. That could die but not get the right sleeve, or could be RD'd and just be done.
I love that.
And that's I think that's another morality issue that we have, is that you see that in the I guess the stripper, the prostitution, the home of ill repute. You see that we get the information that some of the Johns will abuse some of the young women, but they can replace them if they need to.
Right.
If
They
they
can
need to.
upgrade them.
Yeah, they can
Yeah.
upgrade them. So then there's the morality issue of murder, and how does murder, if you can afford to murder, how does it take place in
Yeah.
society?
Wow. That's well said.
So, did you guys have any trepidations with?
No, I'm curious. Like to ask you guys, what would you do if given the option? Do you care about how you look? Would you like the concept of this? Would you do it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know if I'd do it, but the way I would do it is if I was one of the elite.
Yeah.
I'm pretty attached to who I
There
am.
you
Like,
go.
I don't know if I want to be switching every couple of years. So, like, if I had a clone that
So
I
you
could
would-
sleeve into,
So you
possibly.
wanna look like you, see, like
I want to
yourself.
stay me. I don't know if I could deal with. Plus, the re-sleeving process looks a little.
But what about the
tough on you.
enhancements?
would you
Would you
do that?
Well,
secrete
I mean,
some hormones?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be against it.
I'm not gonna lie, that is like, in terms of ways of making sex better.
That's probably the best way.
Yeah, you can't
You
just-
feel what I feel.
yeah.
I feel what you feel.
So are you on board? So are you on board with the process? Are you attached to yourself? Like the way you look? the way
I don't
you
know.
are?
I think it's very interesting to think about. I mean, I don't think I would want to be in a different body.
It's just a weird thing to think about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
also, given 80 years,
it's true.
and
Age.
the other,
might be
the-
over
well,
this
the other
body
thing,
by then.
the other thing that's really
I've
important
moved on.
to the other thing that's important to note is, as far as I can tell within this show, I guess somewhere in the process of putting your consciousness into the DHF, your mind doesn't deteriorate as you get old. So for
Yeah.
us, even if you had a perfect body, when you get to 80, 90, the mind
Dementia
starts to
kicks in.
go.
So
Yeah, it's just
you're not as sharp as you once
yeah,
were.
you're not. Where here, Bancroft obviously is not a vegetable at
No.
like 400 years old.
And he remembers, because remember he says that for you that whole war was yesterday when he's talking to Takeshi.
Right.
But so he's got the fresh
Yeah.
250
right, and
years of memory.
exactly.
So
He
Yeah.
re- He recalls some of it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I forgot about that
I
too.
know that is an interesting concept.
I guess the human brain will probably have to rewire itself to just
Yeah,
maybe
I'm
continue
guessing
processing all that
the
information.
explanation has to be the difference between consciousness and like brain power. So somewhere in, because he's getting new bodies,
Yeah.
the brain is fresh.
Yeah.
So it's just the connection
Yeah.
between the two. But maybe I'm looking.
But
too
no,
deep
but at
into it.
what point does, and I guess we can talk about it a little bit because we get hallucinations with Takeshi, but at what point have you been alive for so long do the past memories appear like dreams?
Exactly.
Do you mean like
Yeah.
you might have a dream? Was that real? Was that a memory from 100 years?
Yeah. Like honestly,
that's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you wouldn't remember if this actually took place.
Right.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And so, I mean, I hope they address some of that stuff too, because even as I rewatch it, I'm realizing they address little things right, that I missed
Yeah.
on the way there.
Oh yeah.
We have to talk about one of my favorite characters, and that is our AI,
my
which
favorite
is so
too.
interesting because like, even as I'm rewatching, I'm like, how did they explain this again? Because he seems really sentient to me. What do you guys think about Poe as a character?
Oh, he's hilarious.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man. I was like, when I was watching, I was like, is that Edgar Allan Poe?
Yeah.
He's like acting like Edgar Allan Poe, and he's like the hotel guy. That's one of my favorite parts of the show, if not my favorite character.
Yeah, his one line in the, I can't remember exactly what he said, but after he just saved Takeshi and all that, and then he was just, Ortega was like, why couldn't you just, leave their stack intact? And he's like, well, I haven't had a customer in whatever years. And just deadpans. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, I love the part when he's like, you pay, you have access to all.
He's got
the
great
amenities.
lines.
Right. He's like all the amenities.
And I liked on the rewatches when I realized the kind of special skill of the envoy, because I didn't realize that they were saying that the envoy can really pick up on little small. I didn't really understand it initially. I was like, what are they talking about? But then you realize he figures out that the whole package comes in that moment.
Like the whole,
I don't know if that was an envoy thing as much. I mean, I guess they do.
Just
He does.
came
He
through.
hears like the guns like move in the wall before they come out.
And he's starting to
So I
put
guess-
together like, okay, when he said full package, he meant, and the one guy whispers again, oh, you guys went crazy. The AI went crazy, and that's why people don't stay here, because they're super protective and jealous.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the part that I loved, is that there was
that
so
part,
much like. There's just so much laid into it that when it happens, it doesn't. It's not like whoa. It's like, oh, okay. This is why people stop staying here, because they're super nuts.
Because they're insane.
It makes a lot of sense.
But it works to his advantage.
Yeah, it fits really well into what he's doing, except for the whole just letting people into his room.
Yeah.
Kovacs like, don't do that again.
But then it's like, what is he gonna kill them?
The scene that's great with Poe also when he goes to and meets the other AIs at
Which
the
is
game.
still blowing my mind, because I'm like, I don't
game.
understand where they are and how they can meet
They're
like
in.
this.
They're in.
So
It's like an online space basically.
Yeah.
It's I think of it like a chat room.
But they can interact, which
That's
is like
so
bizarre,
cool.
right?
well, they're AIs.
And it is also scary because maybe they can band together.
Yeah.
well, one of them is they said was like owned by a human or
He
something.
couldn't talk,
now.
right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he signing?
Yeah, the one that was
Yeah.
signing. Yeah.
And then one of them is extremely anti-human and wants to,
Right.
And
Yeah, and so
And that's the one that runs one of the prick up, he calls it.
Yeah, I forgot what his type of business
VR
was.
sexperience.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
I just like how AI is like, it's not a big thing in the show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like they're just around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we figured AI out. They're just like they're like in CD.
They
like,
weren't the concern.
Yeah.
We are still the
Yes.
concern.
Unbelievable. I love that little nugget right there, because a lot of movies and shows like that's the technology.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like how that interacts, and like if they're gonna turn too human or they're not too human, they're just artificial
Yeah.
intelligence.
Well, it was so rarely in life, it seems like the things we're afraid of the most is not the thing that we're like actually having to guard against later on.
Yeah, and I love that almost all the technology in the show, while it is like advanced, it's not like super crazy. Like whoa, like everything is fairly modern. There's some new screens and some
It's,
flying
like,
cars and
believable
stuff,
for
right?
250 years.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but that's
Like,
also
things
like
that
kind of like but that's how
But
it
yeah,
is,
or
right?
it
There's
could
only
have
going to
been
be so
extreme, yeah.
many
Yeah.
technological revolutions, right?
Yes.
What did we think? I liked Prescott, the lawyer
Oh
Prescott.
yeah.
What did you
Yeah.
guys think of her interaction?
I think the intro where he was mistaken that she might be his hooker the night before was pretty comical, and she's like, no.
Kovacs.
The whole time Paul's like, can we maybe dress you? She's,
He's like, yeah, I'm naked, so I love Joel, man. But anyway.
yes.
Oh yeah, Joel Kinnaman, amazing in
love
this.
him.
Oh, yes.
Do you guys watch House of Cards?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, shout out to him from that. I was
Right.
just like, wait, completely
He's
different
back.
character.
I've been watching him for a good bit, man.
I kind of imagine him as like what his House of Cards character used to be like before
almost
then he like
Bancroft.
went into politics.
Yeah.
It's like I'm leaving that behind.
That's what I love about him. Like that's the only dude I like. I want to like steal his voice, man. I want to be like Ursula and like Little Mermaid. Take Joel's voice, put it in a little. I want you to see me on the shore with a little seashell, stealing him. That boy's voice is off the chain.
So good.
It's nice.
What do you guys also think about? I guess the way the religion is playing a role in the society. We see this, which I didn't until the rewatch. I didn't realize. Oh, there's little confessionals in the police precinct
With no priest.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have because it's like, I mean, you're going to wonder, you're 250 years in the future and there's a process of resleeving and people actually still have that faith, which is crazy. And that's why I think it plays a huge part, like the whole car scene where Ortega's like, yeah, the archdiocese says that if you've been murdered and like the whole not being able to be resleeved if you've been murdered to tell who your killer is, that was a really interesting concept.
It's not even re-sleeve. It's just not. They can't even spin them up into VR. Yeah.
That was the one I was like. I totally get it. If you're like in this state of mind and you're a Catholic or whatever, you get the one life and you're done. But that I was like, but if someone murdered me, I'd kind of want to come up and be like, hey, it was so and so. Yeah.
So you'd be for at least that exception.
At least that exception.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking, did you guys like the part where you know how they like speak in one language and they respond in like another language? You know, like someone's speaking like Chinese, they'll respond in like Spanish.
Yeah,
like
that's
how, and it's like normal conversation. Like everyone is like can understand each other's different languages. I like that little tiny nugget.
Did anyone else pick up that his accent would come in a little bit? I don't know if it was he was doing it on purpose, like when he was with Ortega to like remind her that once he was like ethnic as well, or did anyone else pick up on that? It would like slightly change a bit. If you watch, like I don't know if it was intentional or not, but he'd like pick up different when he was with her specifically. I noticed it like when they were in the strip club. Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out.
I wonder if he was picking up her accent.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna check that out now.
I did notice that though. That was the one thing which made sense with what you just said.
It's interesting.
And I like the character of Ortega, and she's got a very interesting drive these first 2 episodes.
Yes.
How do you guys take her sort of desire to like really figure this guy out?
I'm not a big fan of Ortega right now.
Yeah.
Personally.
Is this for future references or currently in these episodes?
I don't want to say anything.
Oh.
I just don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she's cool.
I found her drive a little annoying. Like
I feel
I
like
agree.
her fascination with him was
She's
what
all up in
bothered
my
me.
man's business.
Yeah.
Like, yo, chill, bro. Like, let my man get reassessed. Figure out what's going on. 250 years. I mean, he's like,
let him like adjust.
Yeah.
And she seems obsessed with the Bancrofts, almost needily so. So it's just sort of like, where's this going? But I like the chemistry that they have together. Where you
the back and forth is fun.
Yeah, already you're like, are they gonna get together? Are they not gonna get together? But like, how's it gonna happen? But I'm like waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think about what she ends up doing in the end of the second episode?
Oh, the confessional and taking the stack from
Cutting
the girl.
Mary Lou Henchy, I think.
There's got to be a reason. Like, does it tie into Bancroft or
that part's interesting.
You know, or does she have some kind of theory going on that she wants to save it to?
It was
bring
confusing because it didn't match her. You know, because I didn't know what reason, because she seems like very by the book.
Yep.
You know, follow these rules.
Well, presumably she wants to spin her up to find out who murdered her.
Yeah, but she just seems like, I don't know, it seems like a very inauthentic moment for the character.
But
for
then
me.
also,
Really?
Yeah.
I think so, huh?
which
For me.
the spinning up makes sense. But then isn't her whole department hiding the body from the mom? So wouldn't they be on board too? Why is she doing that behind? Unless it's for something else.
The vibe that I got is that she was the only one who knew about hiding the body. That's
you
why when
think?
she pulled the
Okay.
thing open, it said
That makes
empty.
sense.
Yeah.
She marked it empty, even though the
Okay.
body was in there.
I wasn't
and
sure
then
if
that's
the whole
why.
PD was doing
No.
it to hide it from the mom.
That's why the
Okay.
guy at the end says, "Oh, where have you been?" Because he knows they've been looking for the body.
That makes sense.
But
yeah.
then he finds that the stack is missing.
Interesting.
So you don't see Ortega as like a go against the rules, do whatever's necessary rogue cop?
I guess I didn't see the moral battle she was having with taking.
Really?
So it didn't, like, I saw the conversation she had, but I
With
didn't.
her mother and
I didn't see her having like
the
like the
personal
confession. Yeah, if it had
Right.
happened without the confession, I would have had more of a belief. in it.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was
The
just
timing
like,
of the confessional was interesting too, because it was while Bancroft was like in his study looking
Right.
at
Yeah.
the blood splatter, and she was like asking for forgiveness. So
Yeah.
I wonder if that ties in the end.
Interesting.
yeah.
Does
For me, it was
does
almost
she
like they
have
wanted
something
to
do
like.
with it?
Well, we have. Well, we have that moment. Like, is she somehow involved?
That was my one. I was like, girl up to something.
Yeah, I mean, they're very good at just dropping these
Yeah.
little hints
Little
of nuggets
nuggets.
of possible things to come. Well, speaking of possible things to come, I guess we'll go into our predictions. Predictions. I was like, I know there's got to be some sort of.
I'm here.
You got it.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
We'll start this way because I like to go last.
Okay, I'm gonna go with. I think sooner or later, Kovacs and Ortega are gonna hook up, and I want to see what happens when they do.
Hook up, like.
Yeah, like hook
Oh,
up. And I
yeah,
don't know
I
where it's
mean-
gonna spin off, but I want to learn
Have
more
sex.
about. I think it's gonna play into whoever, like, why she has such a fascination with him, and I want to.
And whenever I find the two leads of the show are like very in shape,
Yeah.
you know they're gonna get together.
Exactly,
It's
but
like-
and I think it's
Stupidly
gonna be some like situation, because I think he had an important role in, like, his sleeve is for some reason beneficial to her, and I don't know.
Yeah, because she's really pressed, you know.
Yeah,
so it's
she won't
like,
leave him alone.
She just keeps harassing my boy. I know he's good looking. Out of that Swede's good looking. Don't chill on my boy real quick. Let him, you know what I mean? Let him assess.
Yeah.
But I'm just really interested to see the about the murder mystery. I'm really I want to see, because because my guy always has that sinister look at always I'm up to no good.
Yeah.
You know, and Takeshi's always like, okay, yeah, all right, what's really going on? So I think there's gonna be a nice little twist as far as the murder mystery. So I really don't have any hot takes for these first two episodes. To be honest with you, I really don't.
There's a lot going on.
All right. Assuming I didn't actually watch the show,
Yeah.
I think we're going to find out more about Lizzie and what happened, and also see more of her dad.
That's good.
And also, I'm excited to see how Kovacs gets information on Bancroft's murder, even though he can't get close to any of his friends or associates because they're all super rich meths. So that should be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, my prediction obviously is the big hookup between
Yes.
the two.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then of course, at some point, at least for me, Bancroft and Kovacs are gonna have some sort of like battle, and so I want to see
That's
that
good, yeah.
because you already see it happening, and there's no way someone like Bancroft is gonna let someone who is his servant or his property really kind of like control him, and you
Yeah.
almost feel vice versa, that both of them are two immovable
Yes.
objects. So
Absolutely.
that's gonna be an interesting battle. What else? News and gossip. Do we have any news and gossip? I wonder if we're going to see Joel Kinnaman back in House of Cards this last
That's my
season.
dude, man.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's. I wonder.
I got a soft spot for Joel, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Swede, man.
And we had Dyken Lockman, who played his sister. We know her from Dollhouse and several other Joss Whedon productions.
Yes.
So I love seeing some familiar faces in this one. Even the killer was the assassin.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. What's his name again?
I
Amazing actor.
He really is.
thought
though.
I
He's
wrote it
class.
down. I might
Played the
not.
Russian.
He does a good job.
Dimitri? I don't
Was
know.
that
I
it?
don't
Yeah,
know.
That sounds-
Dmitriov or something.
That
Was
does
it?
sound right. Yes.
Yeah, the guy who came into the hotel?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Dimitri.
Well, there you go. Had it the whole time.
Yeah. I thought you were getting the actor's name. I don't know the actor's name.
Yeah, I forgot the actor's name.
No.
No
so
idea.
good. We'll have to have it for next time. But anything else? Do we miss anything? I'm sure we missed plenty. There's so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, there's a lot
in
of
this
stuff in
limited amount
those
of time.
2 episodes, but
Yeah.
just yeah, I mean, we didn't really get too much into episode 2.
Yeah. What do you think we're missing? Anything?
It's like
We
it's.
didn't get into Lizzie really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should talk about Lizzie.
Yeah, let's talk
Well,
about
we'll
Lizzie.
get we'll
We got
get
some-
more.
Yeah, because I feel like we
Yeah.
didn't get enough.
We just got a lot of teasers.
Yeah, we
kind
didn't get
of.
enough in 2. Because it's like make sure we're not
Yeah.
sharing from the
Right.
I know.
the episodes coming
Right.
up. Yeah, but we didn't get enough about that whole backstory quite yet. But
Yeah.
interesting to see that she's in this other place and how that's gonna.
The trauma loop is
Yeah.
Yeah, and-
uncomfortable.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
And how are you guys taking that actually? Because I find in this series we find our characters in different worlds. that
and
are
like
not
still interacting
yeah.
with everyone else. As her father, I couldn't even imagine. She's just like sitting there suffering at all times, and it's the only way you can talk to her.
And somehow it's a representation of her, but it's not really her. But it is her. It's like
it's her consciousness in a VR space. So it's like if you had almost like a video game going, and like you loaded her into the game. So she's like hanging out in the world, so he could like go in and see her, like, hey, honey.
Yeah.
But she's all scarred because of whatever happened to her.
It still seems, but it works, but it still seems so foreign.
Yeah. It's a kind of abstract concept. Hopefully it stays that way for a while.
I'm a big fan of the way they're presenting everything, because at least I'm accepting it very easily because of the way it's presented. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, but how?
Well, it's like that utopian idea of like, well, everybody can live forever, but of course it doesn't end up working out that way.
Like something can always go wrong.
Yeah, and I love the shows that challenge me. To be honest with you, like I said, I've rewound this show several times. Just to make sure I catch all the nuances and
it's
the
definitely
ins
worth
and
a
outs
rewatch too.
Yeah.
Because once
like,
you get to the end, you start to understand a lot of things. So then you rewatch it and you go, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah,
now it's not just gibberish.
It's true, because I think with some shows we get caught up in not knowing what's going on.
Right.
Because
I want to know what's happening.
Because things might actually get explained later, but we want to know like right away.
Right.
Yeah, because they drop you into this world, but it's so complex. You kind of like, give me the ground rules.
Yeah. There's a lot of world
And
building.
then like feed you more bits of information as the episodes
So you're in
go.
episode 7 and 8, you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's why the breadcrumb trail led me to this part. I'm like, that's kind of cool. So.
Yeah, and for me, I got really obsessed about this. I want to say episode 4. Like 1, 2, and 3 were great for me, but 4 is when.
That's when it builds.
Yeah, and so now
Build up.
rewatching it now I'm like, okay, that's why it took me so long to get there. 'Cause I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that meant.
I think the first one is a great pilot. It's got a good hook, but the second, third, and fourth episodes are definitely more
good
like
information.
builders. But when things start to go,
you're like fully invested.
and you're ready. Yeah, exactly.
Especially new shows and new concepts, like it's people forget that really truly great shows, they have to develop the characters in the first episodes. Like you have to just get all the ground rules, get everything laid out, all the characters, backstory, and then slowly build to greatness. You know what I mean? So it might. That's why I'm rewinding a lot, because I don't know what the hell's going on. But when you get your footing, and it's just the show just takes over, and I love it. It's spectacular, actually.
Well, I'm excited for my rewatch of 3 and 4. I'm excited that you guys joined us. My name is Shaka Smith. You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong.
Hey guys, Nate Miller here. You can find me on all social media at Dog Like Nate.
Evan Mack here, America's Sweetheart. I stole that from Julia Roberts. Until she reclaims it, I'm America's Sweetheart. Find me on Instagram at Evan T. Mack.
And I'm Krista Flentje, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Krista Flentje.
We'll be back next week, same time, same place. See you guys.
Thanks.
You're tuning into the destination. From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.